Tonight, when the sun goes down, you're going to flip a switch. Light will flood the room, and you won't think twice about it. But for 99.9% of human history, that switch didn't exist. When the sun set, the world went dark, completely dark. And your ancestors didn't fight it. They built an entire second life around it. You probably imagine cavemen huddled in silence, waiting for morning. That image is wrong, almost embarrassingly wrong. The truth is stranger, and it explains something about your own brain that's happening right now, tonight, whether you notice it or not. For most of human existence, night wasn't downtime. It was a different mode of being human entirely, a mode your body still remembers, even if your calendar doesn't. Let's go back, not centuries, tens of thousands of years. Anthropologist Polly Wiesner spent years studying the Juhonsi people of the Kalahari, one of the last groups on Earth to live a foraging lifestyle similar to ancient humans. She recorded what people talked about during the day versus at night. During the day, conversations were practical. Who found food? Who needs help? Complaints, logistics, gossip about resources. At night, everything changed. Once the fire was lit, the subject matter shifted almost entirely to stories, myths, histories, tales about distant relatives, ancestors, animals with human qualities, warnings wrapped in narrative. Wiesner found that firelit conversation contained 6 times more storytelling than daytime talk. Why would that be? Because night removed the things that distracted them. No tasks, no foraging, no urgent labor demanding attention. Just flickering light, full bellies, and each other. This is where it gets interesting. Firelight isn't just light, it's a behavioral trigger. When light drops below a certain threshold, your eyes shift from cone-dominant vision, the kind built for detail and color, to rod-dominant vision, built for movement and shape in low light. Psychologically, this shift seems to lower social vigilance. You stop scanning faces for subtle judgment. You relax into a kind of communal trance. Around a fire, ancient humans weren't just resting. They were transmitting culture. Stories told at night carried rules. Who you could trust. Which plants were poison. What happened to people who broke taboos. These weren't just bedtime tales. They were operating manuals for survival, encoded as narrative, because narrative is what the human brain remembers best. Cognitive psychologist Jerome Bruner argued that humans think in 2 fundamentally different modes: the logical scientific mode, which deals in facts and proofs, and the narrative mode, which deals in intentions, conflict, and meaning. Night, it turns out, was prime narrative time. The fire created a space where logic relaxed and story took over. But storytelling wasn't the only thing happening in the dark. Night was also when ancient humans processed fear. Predators hunted at night. Lions, hyenas, large cats with night vision evolution never gave humans. Your ancestors were, for a huge stretch of evolutionary history, prey after dark. Not metaphorically, literally hunted. This created a strange duality. Night was dangerous, but it was also when the group bonded most intensely. Fear and connection became tangled together at the cellular level. Sitting close to others at night wasn't just comfort, it was survival math. Predators target individuals on the edge of a group, not the center. Humans who clustered tightly together at night lived. Humans who wandered off didn't. This is, very plausibly, the evolutionary root of something you still feel today. The specific, electric discomfort of being alone in the dark. You can rationalize it all you want. You know there's no lion in your closet. But part of your nervous system doesn't know that. Part of it is still running software optimized for a world where darkness meant exposure. Sleep itself looked nothing like yours. Historian A. Roger Eckerch spent years digging through pre-industrial diaries, court records, and letters, and found overwhelming evidence of something called segmented sleep. People didn't sleep for one continuous 8-hour block. They slept in 2 phases. First sleep, beginning shortly after dark. Then a waking period in the middle of the night lasting 1 to 2 hours. Then second sleep, until dawn. What did people do during that waking window? They talked. They had sex. They prayed. They tended low fires. Some visited neighbors. It was a quiet, liminal hour considered completely normal, even useful, for centuries. This pattern likely existed long before written history, stretching back into deep prehistory, shaped by firelit nights with no artificial pressure to compress sleep into a single uninterrupted block. Modern researchers have tested this. In a landmark study, psychiatrist Thomas Ware placed subjects in environments with no artificial light for extended winter-length nights. Within weeks, their sleep spontaneously split into two segments, almost identical to Eckert's historical record. Given the chance, the ancient pattern reasserts itself. So if you've ever woken up at 3 a.m. for no reason, calm, not particularly anxious, just suddenly and fully awake, you weren't broken. You were timed. Your ancestors used that window deliberately. It was a second social shift, a second emotional shift. Children sometimes were conceived during that hour, not by accident, but because it was simply the unhurried, private time the day never offered. Now think about your own night. You don't have predators outside. You don't need a fire to feel safe. But you still crave a version of that ritual. The dimming lights, the quiet hour before bed, the scroll through a screen that mimics, weirdly, the flicker of an old fire. Stories told, not around flames, but through headphones, through shows, through whatever narrative you consume before your eyes finally close. You still process the day's threats at night. You still tell stories to make sense of fear. You still, somewhere in your biology, expect this time to be different from the hours before it. Anthropologist Carol Worthman, who has studied sleep across dozens of cultures, found that in societies without electric light, the line between waking and sleeping is far blurrier than ours. People drift in and out of light sleep socially, near others, near fire, near sound. Our segmented, isolated, single-block sleep in a dark, silent room is, evolutionarily speaking, the unusual arrangement. Not the other way around. You think modern sleep is normal because it's familiar. It is not ancient, it is recent. A side effect of artificial light winning a war against darkness that lasted less than 2 centuries. And in winning that war, something quieter was lost. The shared night, the communal fire, the space where logic loosened its grip and meaning took over, where fear was metabolized through story instead of scrolled past in silence, where waking at 3 a.m. wasn't insomnia but rhythm. You still carry that rhythm. It surfaces in restlessness, in late-night thoughts that feel heavier and more honest than daytime ones, in the strange comfort of a screen's glow when the house goes quiet. So tonight, when you flip that switch and the dark disappears in an instant, remember what that darkness used to mean. Remember the fire. Remember the stories. Remember that for most of the time humans have existed, the night wasn't something to defeat. It was something to live inside.